I think that the biggest takeaway from my instruction tonight was that Michael reminded me that I have a purpose as a teacher. He told me today that he wanted to be a teacher when he grew up, and he told me that it was because he wanted to be nice to kids and that he wanted teachers to come in his school that made learning fun. And he reminded me of the exact reasons of why I went into teaching. I wanted to be like my 5th grade teacher. I wanted to be fun, and I wanted kids to like me and like what I was doing for them. But as I've gotten older, I've learned that my purpose is a lot more meaningful than just having fun. It's about building relationships with your students and letting them know that you will always be there for them. Michael makes me think that if his purpose, if he thinks he wants to be a teacher, then it's my job to make the path as clear as possible, and that the challenges that he will come across, to give him the tools to make it over those hurdles. Overall, I'm really proud of how much progress Michael has made in the few short sessions, mostly in his confidence. He comes in, he wants to learn, and he's excited to learn, and that's one of my personal goals for him, is to be more confident in his reading ability and to have an arsenal of tools that will help him prepare for 6th grade and for the rest of his life. During our tutoring session today, we did a writing piece. We each took a 10-minute free write, and at the beginning of the instruction he told me he doesn't like to write. And I asked him to tell me why, to elaborate, and he told me it was because his teacher says that he writes short sentences when all the rest of the kids write long sentences. And so I'm kind of curious, I was kind of curious on where that came from, where his teacher had said it, and so I asked him to write. And as I'm reading his sentence, or his story, which is about being a teacher, I can see it's hard to break apart the sentences. I don't see any punctuation, except for at the very last sentence. And so that shows me that I need to work with Michael on making his sentences flow and make sure that they make sense. And that when there needs to be a period or a comma or an excitement mark, that it's there. I also do not see any capital letters except for with the word I. So that's good to know that he knows to capitalize the letter I, but it's something that we're going to have to work on together as a team. When I hear Michael say that he doesn't enjoy writing, I think that he hasn't had enough positive exposure to writing and doesn't see the benefit in it. So I want to focus with him on why the purpose of writing, why authors write, and I also want to focus on some strategies for 6th grade, especially in note-taking, because it's a huge emphasis in 6th grade, so giving him the tools to better prepare himself to be a writer. And I also want him to see himself as a writer, so it's my job to help him find that success in writing. I did that a little bit today by complimenting his work and telling him that the theme of his paper or his writing was really strong, and that I could relate to it. So I hope that helped start his confidence building. We also did a passage today over wolves. It was a reading passage. My goal was to time him. This is a level this is a level H text over wolves. I did 108 words. And it took him 2 minutes to read, so he got caught on one word, and I counted to 3 and gave him the word. The word was Carolina, and he said Colorado. He said he's sounding out the beginning sounds, but having trouble with those medial sounds. So eventually, after 3 long seconds, I gave it to him, but that really threw off his time, so I'm going to have to look through and assess his reading to see what passage or what level text he should be on. If this was H, I still have an I and a J text we can go over depending on what my miscue analysis says. But the good news is that he was really engaged, and he did pretty well on the comprehension text or on the comprehension questions, so I'm going to go over those and make sure that he scored above a 70%. He just struggled with minor miscues. For the future, I want to make sure that I include more nonfiction text because he was really excited when we finished the text. He asked me if we could read more about wolves, and I told him of course we can. So I'm going to possibly use the same reader that I did for wolves, but more passages to help him with his reading. We also played a game on the iPad called Chictionary, and he enjoyed that game quite a bit, but he really struggles with seeing words within words. I noticed that, but one in Chictionary, and then also one when we were doing our breaking down of multisyllabic words, he struggled to see the words in the word unimportant. He didn't see the word important as a whole. He saw so he saw the prefix, but he didn't see the word important, so he saw the word ant, and he saw the word or, but he didn't see these all together. So I'm wondering if I could work with him on root words. So if he has the root word, which he's really strong in, then plugging in the back word to it, I'm wondering if that's going to help him understand words and seeing them in pieces, and so he can chunk them better. That's one of our goals, is for him to see those words in big words and break them apart into smaller words. I'm very excited for the challenge book that Michael and I are reading together. I asked him to choose one of 3 I Survived books, and he chose the I Survived September 11th attacks, which I've only begun to start reading. What is interesting to me is that Michael has very strong predicting skills. He usually scores pretty high on that and in his BRI passages, but he just can't get past the fluency and the reading part of it, that I feel like he might start to lose hope and interest in a text because he's focusing so hard on decoding it. So I want to make those decoding strategies as quick to him to grab as possible. And so I've been struggling with some ideas of how to break apart the words so he doesn't stumble over them constantly. So we're going to be doing a lot of mini lessons over breaking apart words to try to sound them out. And I guess, like, when I'm thinking about how I reacted to his reading today, I noticed that I didn't, with the breaking apart the multisyllabic words, I didn't have a chance to really dive as deep as I wanted to understand his understanding of the text, or of the word, excuse me. And it was really frustrating to me because I felt like I knew what I was doing, but I wasn't sure if I was exactly following the procedure. So I want to look back and make sure that I covered the text, the words, the way that they were supposed to be covered, because I don't want to give him the wrong information. And so it just makes me think that I need to be more cautious about when I teach, and to not always just trust my gut feeling on what makes sense to me, because I'm not sure if it'll always make sense to him. And so just being more conscientious of that would probably help us both. Overall, I guess I'm just very grateful to have Michael as my tutor, my student, because he just reminds me so much of me, myself, and the reasons why I went into teaching. And I hope to be able to encounter students like him in the future. And if I don't, then, being able just to build that relationship no matter what is something I've always been able to do. But Michael has just touched me in a way that I just can't describe. He's just so smart, and the only things that are getting in his way of success are his ability to decode and read words. So I need to be the person in his life, one of the people in his life, to push him forward and to make him more successful. So I'm just grateful that he brought me a sense of purpose.